Welcome to GDs, and this is Labrea, Season 2, Part 2. All of them get back to 10,000 BC, but Josh got separated from the rest of them. Sam and Riley want to inform the rest of the group that they plan to close their only way back home before doing the same. But Eve and the rest of her family are against it, knowing that it will cause an unnecessary argument, and if the sinkhole opens, a lot of people are going to die. Thus they head out to close the portal. They split up into two groups. Caroline along with others head towards a substation, while Gavin, along with Izzy, heads toward the building, so that he could provide access to his mother on the substation, from where she will be able to upload the virus, and close the portal. Back at the clearing, Ty asks Ella to make a ring for Para, as they will be getting married. Scott learns from Ty that Para is looking for the person who helped Tammet escape, so that they could be dealt with. Veronica is also happy being in a relationship with Lucas, and she feels ready to move on from Aaron. As Ella and Veronica look for stone for Ty's ring, they find a tree inside a cave, which has the same flower which Gavin saw in his vision. While Veronica and Ella remember it being the flower that their abductor Aaron used to make them draw, and he told them that they grew in his old home. On the other hand, as Gavin and Izzy make their way to the tower, Izzy could sense that his dad was hiding something, and as she pushes him to tell the truth, he lets her know about his vision. As they get to the tower, James was happy seeing him, but was not sure why he would return back. Gavin tells him that he came back in order to get to know him, and to learn about his heritage, and that is why he came with her daughter, so that she could also learn the same. Izzy asks James to show her the place, as she wanted to give Gavin time, so that he could give access to her mother at the substation. Going through the building, Izzy finds the same tree, which Gavin saw in his vision, in the greenhouse of the building, and James tells her that it's a special tree, and only grows in this time period. Knowing the same, as well as her father's vision, she knows that her mother will die in 10,000 BC. With James being distracted by Izzy, Gavin forces Kiara to give him access to the control room, and using his biometrics he was able to grant access to his mother at the substation. As Caroline begins uploading the virus, she finds the power was fluctuating in the system. Eve and Riley, looking for the issue, find that it was Sam who is trying to cut off the power, in order to stop them. As he knows that if they succeed, he will not have a way to unite with his family. But Eve and Riley are able to make him see the bigger picture and he stands down. Meanwhile, the clearing finds itself on the migration path of wild buffaloes, and they know that if they come charging towards them, they will destroy everything. Lucas takes up the role of leadership, and they come up with a plan to use fire in order to push away the buffaloes. While Josh is also able to make his way back to the camp. As the initial buffaloes approach the clearing, they are able to push them away with fire. But with the sinkhole opening, water from the ocean pours down, causing the fire to go out. Josh, seeing this, tells the group why they came back, and what they plan to do. But with the virus being uploaded, the sinkhole closes down. While at the tower, James reaches the control room, and urges Gavin to stop the upload. He tells him that he has made a lot of progress on the machine after his mother left, and he is very close to a solution that will make the machine stable. Izzy also tells him that she knows that her mother will die in this time period, and getting to know this, James lets him know that he will stabilize the machine, and he can use it to save his wife, as he will be able to send them back to their time period. In addition, he has already stopped the sinkhole from opening in 1988. Gavin, believing his father, and fearing for Eve, stops the upload at the last moment. While back at the clearing, with the fire being out, and the buffaloes approaching, Lucas and Scott come up with a plan to push away the buffaloes using sound, and they are able to pull it off by sounding all the horns on the cars. With the upload being stopped, Gavin now wants James to send them back. James tells him that it is not so easy, as first, they will have to repair all the damage the virus has done to the machine. He also shows him a page that has a part of the solution, which is required to stabilize the machine. James tells him that Dr. Harold, one of the scientists who worked with them, was able to find a way to stabilize the portal. But he left a year ago, and they have not been able to find him. He asks Gavin to look for him, as he has the solution. He also informs him that Dr. Harold was a good friend of her mother, and she might know where he is. Gavin tells Eve about his vision, and lets her know that it was the only way for him to make sure that they could return back, so that nothing happens to her. But Eve was not happy with his choices. In addition, she also doesn't trust James. As they return back to the clearing, they find that one of the clearing members was murdered. And he left behind a clue for them before passing away. Seeing the symbol, Scott knew that it was the exiles who were responsible, as it was the same symbol he saw on Tamit's clothes. But he keeps this information with himself, knowing that the killer could be anyone. Lucas starts to interrogate people, while the rest of them search the woods, and in the process, Eve falls into a cave and is pinned down. On the other hand, Caroline is quite disappointed with Gavin for trusting his father. But hearing about Dr. Harold, she agrees to help him look for him, and they are joined by Riley and Josh. Caroline, knowing where Dr. Harold used to go, reaches there, but they find his remains along with a key. Finding a key, they search further, and are able to find a cave where he lived. Being in the cave, Caroline finds Dr. Harold's work, but it was not finished, and they were only rough notes. She asks Riley not to tell this to anyone, as she fears that if Gavin gets to know this, he will share the information with his father, and she doesn't trust him enough to share the information before figuring out what it means. Riley agrees to keep this a secret, and even hides it from Josh. Back at the clearing, Sam, performing an autopsy on the body, tells Lucas that a 7-inch knife was used to kill him. Lucas, knowing Virgil to have a knife set, interrogates him, and finding a 7-inch knife missing, and with him not having an alibi for the murder, he thinks that Virgil is the murderer, and he imprisons him. Sam explains to him that he still has no facts to support his claim, neither he has a motive, and as they discuss, Izzy finds the knife that was used for the murder. Thus Sam asks Lucas to let Virgil go. Scott, seeing the knife, having the same symbol, confesses to Sam. He also informs him that the symbol belongs to Tamit's group, and he told him that he will be coming for them. While Eve is able to improvise, and she makes her way back. And going through a near-death experience, she lets go of her anger towards Gavin. Ty has also been feeling weak, because of his tumor, and in order to get help, he goes to the tower. James informs him that in his time period, they discovered a cure for his tumor, and he lets him know that he will be cured once his entire treatment is over. But in exchange for the treatment, James wants him to be his therapist, and Ty agrees. While Lucas, now knowing that it was Tamit who was responsible for the murder, apologizes to Virgil for imprisoning him. But later we see Virgil burning a cloth having the same symbol. Sam leads a search party to look for the exiles, while Lucas asks Veronica to move in with him. Gavin also leaves the camp to meet up with James, and on his way, he meets Levi. He tells Gavin that it has been 10 years since he last saw him, and he has been working with a group to bring them back, as the sinkhole didn't stop opening. He also informs him that he met someone in 1988, and after she was gone, he decided to return back to them through a sinkhole that opened. Back at the camp, we see Virgil signaling the exiles, and they attack the camp. Lucas, seeing Virgil signaling, asks him why he betrayed them. Virgil lets him know that the exiles wanted him to find a journal, and he has been looking for the same, and he has been helping them, as they have his wife as hostage. Sam and the rest of the group are able to find the exiles' camp, and with them at the clearing, they are also able to rescue Virgil's wife. They also deduce that the exiles have gone to attack their camp. As they make their way back to the camp, they catch up with Gavin and Levi. At the camp, as Tamit threatens Veronica, Lucas, knowing about what they are looking for, offers to give it to them, but they are able to call his bluff. Veronica, listening to the description of the journal, knows that it's the journal that her kidnapper Aaron had with him. And in order to save Lucas, she tells them where the journal is, and they go with some of his men to get the same. Josh and Izzy, using a mirror, are able to inform Gavin and the others that half of the exiles are away. Having this information, they attack the exiles, as they took out the journal from Aaron's grave. With half of the exiles neutralized, they attack the camp, and are able to defeat the exiles. As Tamit tries to escape, Lucas and Scott go after him, and Scott, in order to save Lucas, stabs Tamit. As Gavin looks at the journal they wanted, he realizes that it is the work of Dr. Harold, which his father asked him to find, and before passing away, Tamit informs them that it was Kiara who asked him to look for the same. Veronica, going through the traumatic experience, decides to move in with Lucas. She is also quite confused, as she doesn't understand that why will Aaron have this journal, and she also realizes that Aaron waited for the sinkhole to open, as if he knew what was going to happen. Eve also gets to meet with Levi, and he tells her that he is there to set everything right. And for the same he needs to kill James. While at the building, Ty starts with his treatment, and as he goes for his first therapy session with James, Kiara asks him to learn about Project Blue Moon from him. Ty, interacting with James, tries to push him to open up, but James was quite guarded. But before he left, he sees a painting of a blue moon, drawn by his son Gavin, when he was young. He informs Kiara the same, and she tells him that Project Blue Moon is the first project that James has locked her out of. And as they discussed, they were able to deduce that James might go back in time to stop his son from ever leaving in the first place, and if this will happen, then he would never meet Eve, and Josh and Izzy might not exist. He lets Eve and Gavin know about what he learned, and tells them that he thinks they can reason with James, and thus he has invited him to his wedding, thereby giving them a chance to talk to him. At the clearing, we get to see everyone preparing to go to the wedding. Veronica, going through the journal of Aaron, finds Bible verses he wrote on his own at the back, and now knowing the significance of the journal, she feels that there might be a hidden message in them. We also get to see Caroline leaving to attend the wedding, and she tells her father that she is going to tell Gavin about what she found. As she leaves, we see Silas being shot, and the one who shot him took the research they found. At the wedding, everyone is enjoying themselves. Caroline catches up with Gavin and tells him everything. Gavin also shows her the journal and tells her what he found. Caroline lets him know that she would look into the calculations and will tell him what she finds. While Josh overhears Riley telling Sam about what she found with Caroline, and learning that she didn't told him this before, he feels hurt. James, being at the wedding, interacts with his grandkids and is happy as he gets to know them. Levi asks for Eve's help in order to poison James, and we learn that he wants to kill James, as he lost his wife when a sinkhole opened and a building collapsed on her, and thus he blames James for everything. Eve is against the same, and tries to make him stand down. But Levi was determined to do the needful, and he tries to poison James, but Eve was able to intervene in time. Gavin, getting to know the same, asks Levi to leave, as he betrayed him. Silas finds Lucas and Veronica, and they get him back to the village. At the same time, Gavin finds his mother being murdered, and he thinks it was his father who killed her. James lets him know that he loved her and would never harm her, and as Gavin interrogates him, he tells him that he was not going to act on Project Blue Moon. As meeting with his family and getting to know them, he feels connected to them, and wouldn't take it away from him. Eve shows up there, and she tells him that it was Kiara who is responsible for his mother's death, and we see Kiara leaving the village, along with the journal. As Ty tries to stop her, she takes him as a hostage, and is able to get away from there. James tells Gavin that Kiara always put the project first, and always wanted to be in charge, and since she left with his guards, he will have limited support. But he tells them that he knows a way of getting into the building. While Veronica, talking with Silas, learns that Aaron was a computer programmer in the building, and he used to take others' research and pass it as his own, and he might have used the portal to get to their time period. Knowing that Aaron was a programmer, Veronica was able to decode the message, and she finds that they provide coordinates for a location. Gavin and Eve leave with James in order to get to the building, and they ask Josh and Izzy to take care of Silas. While Izzy was intent on talking with Levi, as he was there for her when she lost her leg. On the other hand, Kiara has taken over the building and imprisoned anyone who might be loyal to James, but in the process, the animals in the building got loose. She lets Ty leave, and lets him know that she now needs to get back to work. Sam, looking for medicines for Silas, finds Levi digging up explosives, and as he tries to stop him, Levi knocks him down. Later, he is found by Josh and Izzy, and they learn about his plan to blow up the building. James, Eve, and Gavin are joined by Ty as they get into the building. We also get to see Levi making his way into the building. James, using Gavin's credentials, gains access to the system. He asks James and Ty to manually lock the doors in order to slow down Kiara from getting to them, as he will need time to get the system up and running. As Gavin tries to secure the place, he finds Levi planting explosives in the building. He tries to reason with him, but Levi lets him know that he not only lost his wife, but also his daughter, and this is his way of avenging their death. Eve, not trusting James, asks him to show her on what he is working on, and she finds that he has been working on Project Blue Moon. James tells her that this is his only way of getting his son and wife back. Eve tries to reason with him that this will destroy her family, but James ignores her. They get into a fight, and James knocks her down before leaving. On the other hand, Levi gains access to the portal room, and he gets Kiara to evacuate the building, while he plants more explosives. He then asks Kiara to direct all power to the portal, in order to make sure that the building is destroyed. Gavin also reaches there, and asks Levi to stop, but Levi was not willing to budge, and pulls a gun on him. Before things could escalate, Izzy reaches there, and she is able to provide Levi with the emotional support he needed, and he backs out of his plan. But they are unable to defuse the explosives. Thus, in order to save their lives, they evacuate the building, and all of them were able to get out, before the building was destroyed. Back at the camp, Riley and Veronica start to develop a friendship, but as they return to the clearing, they learn that it has been attacked by bugs living underground. Scott is able to get them to safety, but Veronica finds Ella to be stung by the bugs. They come up with a plan to get rid of the bugs, using water and soap, and they also try to get to Ella, to give her an epinephrine shot. But things didn't go as planned, as the bugs were still active. Though Veronica was able to pull Ella into an ambulance, but in the process, she dropped the shot. Scott, using an improvised flamethrower, is able to get rid of the bugs. As they reach them, they find that Veronica was also stung, and having only one shot, Ella wants Veronica to take it, and she passes away. With the building being destroyed, they now feel they have to stay there, and thus they decide to elect a leader. While Gavin, seeing a cut on Eve's hand, is reminded of his vision, where she had the same cut. Determined to find a way back, he talks with Veronica about the coordinates she found. He later goes to Silas and shows him the journal, and the coordinates they decoded. Looking at the journal, Silas tells Gavin that it has recorded data, which means that Dr. Harold built a second machine, which worked without any issues, and he thinks that the coordinates will lead to the machine. Having this information, Gavin returns to the clearing, and a small group decides to head out to check the same. Meanwhile, Levi finds himself all alone, and as he talks with Ty, he learns that because he destroyed the building, he also destroyed his medication. He later gets a visit from Kiara, who asks him to get a box for her from the village, telling him that it contains supplies stored by Tammet for survival, and in exchange for it, she agrees to provide him with Ty's medicine from the outpost where they are now living. As Levi digs up the box, Silas finds him, and getting to know about his deal, he agrees to help him, as he wanted revenge from Kiara as she killed his daughter. At the exchange, Levi finds that the box did not have supplies, but instead had fuel rods, which will be required by the machine to power the portal, and Kiara found out about the machine by reading the journal. But before she could get away, Silas, with the help of Para and her people, is able to overpower them. Para gives Silas a second chance to redeem himself, while Ty is happy having the medicines, as now he will have more time to spend with Para. On the other hand, the group, looking for the machine, reaches the coordinates, only to find a bunch of people being killed by some kind of wild animal. Looking around, they were not able to find a machine, but they find a lockbox. Gavin, using the key he found with Dr. Harold's body, was able to open its lock, and inside it, they had a map, which they believe, that will lead them to the machine inside the caves. They also come across a young girl, who initially seemed scared of them, but Scott was able to get her to trust them. He also found a locket at the location, and it had the symbol for a company, where he was going for a job interview when he fell into the sinkhole, and he finds it quite weird. Gavin, learning that the way to the caves leads through trees with red flowers, decides to split up, and they leave Eve behind, as they go to check the caves. Eve, being left behind, tries to communicate with the girl, and she tells them that her name is Petra, and she warns them about a monster in the caves. Knowing the same, Eve decides to head towards the cave, in order to warn her family. She reaches there in time and warns them. Seeing her there, Gavin points out at the red flower tree, which was inside the cave. At the same time, a giant lizard attacks them. Gavin pushes Eve out of the way, and he is thrown by the lizard. While Eve is able to push back the lizard. As the lizard leaves, they find that Gavin was impaled by a rock under the tree. Sam lets Eve know that Gavin will bleed out in a few hours, and if they pull him out, it will be in few minutes. They were also able to find James, who came there to use the machine. With James having the fuel rods to power the machine, Eve comes up with a plan to save Gavin, and she decides to go back in time to save him. James opens up a portal to 4 hours in the past. But in order for them to come back, he will need to keep the portal open. While Scott tries to communicate with Petra, and as he shows her the locket, she opens it. The locket had a photo of her with a woman, and Scott recognizes the woman to be Maya Schmidt, the lady whom he was going to see for his interview. Petra tells him that she is her mother, and shows him a photo of her in 10,000 BC with military barracks. Scott is quite confused by all this, and Pedro agrees to answer all his questions, if he helps her find her mother. Lucas also learns from Veronica that she is pregnant, but they are at odds, as Lucas doesn't want to return back. Riley also tries to talk with her father, as she found out that him and her mother were parting ways, but Sam tells her that she need not worry. The machine starts to malfunction, and James tells them that it is because of the cooling system not working, but he will only help them if they will allow him full access to the machine. Knowing the issue with the machine, Jutta tells them that he might be able to help. And he finds a tree blocking the flow of water. And with help from Lucas, they were able to solve the problem. While Gavin says goodbye to Josh and passes away. Back in the past, Eve and Izzy come up on James as he was stealing the fuel rods from Ty and Levi. Getting to know why they were there, Ty takes them towards the cave, but hearing the lizard, Eve decides to drop a message for Gavin on the back of the map to warn him, and they return back to the portal. Izzy also learns from Levi that he crossed powerful people to get back in time, and he is not sure what's waiting for him back. Ty and Levi also decide to go with them through the portal in order to see things through. As they return back, we find that Gavin received Eve's message and was alive. With the machine working properly, they all now have a way to go back. They all gather to go back, and Sam gets a number for him to call when they get back. While Veronica and Lucas were also on the same page. We also get to see Levi having the same symbol which Scott found on the locket, tattooed on his arm. But James was able to cut himself free, and he wants Gavin to give him the journal. He lets Gavin know that he now understands that family was his weakness, and he now knows that he doesn't need to save the world, instead, he will control it. As Gavin and James fight, shots were fired, causing the machine to malfunction. But before James could leave with the journal, Gavin shoots and kills him. James tells Gavin to let her sister know that he is sorry that he failed, and warns him about her as he passes away. His family also reaches there, only to find that the machine is opening portals to various time periods. Scott, seeing various portals open, knows that things from various time periods will be reaching there. While Gavin and his family try to get out of the cave, but as Eve went back to get the journal, a failsafe closes the door. Eve, not knowing at which time period she will be going, gives the journal to her family, and tells them that they will find a way to meet again. And she disappears through the portal. As Gavin, Josh, and Izzy come out of the caves, they find a giant footprint. And as the season ends, we see them running in order to save themselves from a T-Rex. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.